Welcome to the Verts podcast. This is episode 2 of the podcast, where we plan on bringing you at least 4 episodes per month of material of all things football. I'm your host, Christian Abrams. Of course, back with me is Mike. We have John. We have Will. And, of course, we have Matt. One thing that you might have noticed is that we're all wearing the same clothes. Do not worry. We are not depressed because of self-quarantine. It is the same day as episode 1. The last episode got very, very long, and we didn't feel like combining this episode with last episode would have been smart. So we just said, you know what? Let's cut it. Let's cut that one, and let's make a whole brand new, fresh episode. We will try our best to make this episode a lot shorter. This is the mock draft episode. Now, of course, free agency, we had a great time with it, and it's been great. It's not even over, but sooner or later, we're getting ready to get into the thick of it, the real stuff, the draft. This is where the young prospects come in, and we all have our predictions. And listen, man, I'm going to put up the boys in the truck. They're going to go ahead and they're going to tell you all the draft picks that are being made. They're going to show you the draft picks. They're going to show highlights of these players. And we're going to go ahead and start. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick rundown real quick. I don't know if there were any trades made. Were there any trades made in our mock draft?
There were one in the first round and one in the second round if we get to that.
Okay, so we have a couple of trades, but not many. I'm going to go ahead and let you know. Mike picked for the following teams. He picked for the Browns, Chargers, Patriots, Texans, Rams, Giants, Panthers. John picked for the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Packers, and the Saints. Will, he picked for the Broncos, the Colts, the Lions, the 49ers, and the Eagles and Falcons. I picked for the Bengals, the Jets, Jaguars, Bears, Cardinals, and, of course, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As for Matt, he picked for his beloved Pittsburgh Steelers, the Oakland Raiders, the Buffalo Bills, Titans, Vikings, Seahawks, and the Washington Redskins. So let's go ahead and get into it. First on the clock are the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals, with their very first selection, take Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU. Don't need to spend much time on this. National champion, 60 touchdowns. Great year this year. Obviously, the Bengals are moving on from Andy Dalton. It's time for that. They're going with Joe Burrow. Matt, who did the Redskins pick?
They're taking Chase Young at number 2. No brainer, no discussion.
All right. There you go. Moving on.
The first two picks, outside of the slight chance that Washington takes Tua or trades down off of Chase Young, it's going to be Joe Burrow and Chase Young.
For sure. That's the most likely. Go to any mock draft online. You might see a couple say that Tua is going to get selected number 2. Unlikely. I see Chase Young, who is likely the best player in the draft, going number 2 to the Redskins. John, who did the Dolphins pick? Well, wait a minute. Okay, so
we did.
Dolphins here, there was a trade. We have a trade.
So I got with Billy, and I offered him pick 5, pick 26, and a 2020 fourth-round pick. Detroit's in a win-now mode. Their owners come out and said, if we don't make the playoffs this year, I'm starting fresh, firing everybody. So Detroit adding an extra first-rounder this year and a fourth-rounder trumps what a team like LA could do, who only has the original 7 picks. Miami has been tanking for Tua, even though it wasn't a full tank.
No, it wasn't. Ryan Fitzpatrick was like, nope.
And Brian Flores. But Miami's had their eyes on Tua for multiple years. So, third pick, Dolphins are taking Tua. Don't care about the injury. You're probably going to lose the season to him for him getting hurt at some point. But the accuracy, pocket presence, leadership, it's what Miami needs. And he can sit behind Patrick for a year. So,
all right. Mike, who did the Giants select with the 4th pick?
I went Tristan Wirfs. I think he's the best offensive tackle in the league. I think that at
the league, that's full.
Or not the league, in the draft.
Play first.
Look, if you draft Daniel Jones at number 6, you need to build around him. And that starts with protecting him, but it also starts with you have to get more lanes with Saquon Barkley and Isaiah Simmons. He's later. Tristan Wirfs, to me, is the best run blocker in this class, and his athleticism is off the charts.
Okay. Will, You trade it back. You let the Dolphins get the third pick, but apparently you can still get your man. Who would
That was the plan the entire time. We got our man Jeff Okuda coming in at 5 with a trade back. We knew we could still get him, or we figured we'd at least have a pretty good chance. Only losing 2 spots for an extra first-round pick. Can't be upset about it.
Mike, you're back on the clock with the Chargers. Of course, reports that Cam Newton was heading to Los Angeles. He did not. Reports way before that Tom Brady was headed to Los Angeles. He did not. Who are the Chargers going with the 6th pick?
Right now, Justin Herbert. I will be completely open and honest. I expect the Dolphins to not be aggressive, hold on to their picks, and the Chargers move up for Tua, as much as I hate to say that. But at the same time, if Miami gets Tua, I could totally see the Chargers going to tackle here and then going for a guy like Jalen Hurts in round 2.
Mike, you are back on the clock with another interesting team, the Panthers. They have a lot of possible places. Of course, Luke Kuechly retiring, surprising everybody. They just cut Eric Reed. Cam Newton's out of there. There's several things that the Panthers can do at this 7th spot. Who do you have them going with?
All right, so I went Isaiah Simmons. This is not. I cannot stress this enough. This is not a Luke Kuechly replacement. This is we're going to draft the best defensive player on the board. Isaiah Simmons can play strong safety, nickel. He's lined up at outside corner. He could be an edge rusher. But if you ask if you ask Isaiah Simmons to go and be the inside linebacker for your team and play inside the tackle box, you are basically drafting a bust. He is a decent inside linebacker. If you do not have a plan for how you're going to use Isaiah Simmons will be a bust.
On the clock for the first time in this draft are the Cardinals. I had the pleasure of picking for the Cardinals, and I think they'll go with Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle out of Alabama. Big man, big size. Listen, this is pretty much a simple pick, man. Cardinals needed offensive lineup, and this is a good offensive lineman that they'll get in Jedrick. It's a quick and to the point picking that you have right here. But moving on to Jacksonville, I'm still on the clock for them too. Derek Brown out of Auburn. Listen, they just lost. What's his name?
Calais Campbell.
There you go. They just lost Calais Campbell. And what did you say?
Marcel Darius.
And Marcel Darius. Yeah, they lost Marcel Darius. They lost Calais Campbell. They're going to need some help up front. This is a rebuilding team. And if you ask me, one of the more important ways to start rebuilding your team is up front, whether that's offense or defense. And I think that right here, one of the perfect spots for them to go is to Derek Brown at defensive tackle out of Auburn. Mike, Browns, disappointing season.
Yep.
Who are they coming up with in their first pick?
I went Mekhi Becton. You and I actually had a conversation earlier about this, about whether or not the Cardinals should go Mekhi Becton or not. Mekhi Becton is a left tackle, true, and could he probably slide to right tackle? Yes, but why? When you have, to me, Jedrick Will and Mekhi Becton are so close prospect-wise, where don't worry about flipping guys' size. Cardinals go and they just re-signed DJ Humphries. So, and then the Browns, of course, as John talked about in the free agent episode, signed Jack Conklin. If they want to be a power run scheme, what better to have Jack Conklin on one side and then the 6'7", 364-pound Mekhi Becton at left tackle. One helps Baker, two helps those two good running backs, and hopefully, for Baker's sake, in all of his commercials, gets him playing better.
Okay, Mekhi Becton, Highland Springs football legend. I've seen him live at Highland Springs High School.
Big boy.
Big guy. Won a state championship there. I think he might have won a couple. I think he did. He won 2 state championships at Highland Springs. Huge guy. Moving on. Jets are on the clock. This actually goes in perfectly with my prediction in our last episode. I do not think that the Jets will get Robbie Anderson back. So who better to replace him with than who I think is the best receiver in the draft, CeeDee Lamb.
I got to interrupt. I have to interrupt on this one. I cannot see the Jets passing on Andrew Thomas right here.
Really?
There's as much as the Jets need a receiver, they have flat out failed Sam Darnold this offseason. Their goal, they were going to go get Joe Thuney. the Patriots franchise tagged him. They were going to go allegedly go after Jack Conklin. They got him. Eric Flowers. Their big idea to protect their franchise quarterback was to sign George Fant, who got benched 3 times in the last 2 years by Seattle.
Good point.
Your goal is to sign Seattle offensive linemen to help Sam Darnold. You're doing it wrong.
That's true. But I will also say this. Bad franchises do bad things. And I could see possibly maybe the Jets, kind of like how Tampa's built currently. The Jets might feel as though, well, the best way to help your quarterback out is to just get them better receivers. I know that that's what Tampa thought. And that's why they have an abundance of receivers, but a poor offensive line at the moment. But, yeah, so my pick right there for them is CeeDee Lamb. Could be Andrew Thomas. I do think he's a good tackle, but I'll say CeeDee Lamb with that pick. Matt, it's been a while since you've been on the clock, but you are, in fact, on the clock with the Las Vegas Raiders. Who's their pick?
We're taking Jerry Jeudy at 12. The run-on receivers is about to happen. There's 6 picks before the Raiders are back on the clock. They can't afford to miss out on the top prospect. They're taking Jeudy.
Okay. Well, we just talked about the Niners, and they made a trade with your Indianapolis Colts. Very interesting pick for them that they could go receiver. They could try to replace Buckner. What are they going to do?
I went with the latter. I think you go Javon Kinlaw here. You take one of the most solid defensive line prospects in the entire draft, especially in the interior. 6'6", 300 pounds. What's not to like? He's got a growing presence in the pass rush, but an excellent run stopper for South Carolina. I think it'd be a great fit for them after to replace the player they traded away.
Okay. With that being said, the Bucs are on the clock, and the Bucs have a 43-year-old quarterback who has as much mobility as I do, and I have no mobility at all. With that being said, they had to protect them. They had to. So with this
Salted
pick,
Brady there.
so with this pick, Tampa has to protect their quarterback. They have to go Andrew Thomas, the big man out of Georgia. He's got to replace Donovan Smith. You got to get out of that. Donovan Smith is not the guy. He's not good enough. Andrew Thomas is good enough. I have the Bucs going. Andrew Thomas, 14th overall. Will.
Wait, Christian, would you rather build your offense around Donovan Smith or build your defense around Vernon Hargraves? Moving on.
Hey, moving on to Will, you're back on the clock. The Denver Broncos, another interesting spot. Who are they going with the 15th overall pick?
The Broncos, I definitely think, the quarterback, Drew Lock there, definitely could use some more help, whether it's O-line or, more weapons. We went with the weapon here. We went with Henry Ruggs out of Alabama. I think that's a solid receiver, definitely one of the top guys in the draft this year. I don't see a way that one man can carry an entire team receiving-wise. It just doesn't work out that way, and Cortland Sutton needs some help. He definitely needs someone to, shoulder a little bit of that load because he was being abused last year.
I would argue that he's not completely helpless in Denver. I mean, of course, you have Mountain View High School legend Deshaun Hamilton out there, but I do believe Henry Ruggs would be a great addition for the Denver Broncos.
That offense is still missing a speed guy.
Oh, yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
And Henry Ruggs is probably he is the fastest
sheer speed
prospect in this draft. Will, you're still on the clock. Who are the Atlanta Falcons? Who are they going to draft at number 16?
Number 16, I had the Falcons going with some help along the edge. I have Clavon Chaisson. I hope I'm not butchering that name too badly. He's the edge rusher, one of the top prospects at edge out of LSU this year. National champion pedigree. Guy came in, had 6.5 sacks last year, forced a fumble. Playmaker on defense.
Okay. All right, I'll go say the same thing. John, it's been a while since you've been on the clock, but you're on the clock now. Dallas, an interesting spot. They lost some size up front, obviously, but they also re-signed – well, they didn't re-sign. They also signed guys like Gerald McCoy, but they did lose a person and Jeff Heath in the secondary. Which need are the Cowboys addressing here?
There's been a lot of talks that the safeties are going to fall, but I think in a class as deep at wide receiver as this one is, you need guys in the secondary. So I have him going with Xavier McKinney. Early on in the season, if you would have had Grant Delpit or if you wouldn't have had Grant Delpit here, you would have been insane. But Delpit's fallen off. Antoine Winfield's a lot smaller. Xavier McKinney was kind of that Micah Fitzpatrick replacement at Bama, and I think he slides right into Dallas's already loaded defense and plays well.
All right. Right back on the clock you are, John, with your beloved Miami Dolphins. Who are the Dolphins going with the 18th pick?
Josh Jones, offensive tackle. Houston, the offensive tackle has to be taken first round. No doubt about it. You trade away Laramie Tunsil. You need to protect. Our starting left tackle at the moment is Julian Davenport.
He's not good.
That's not good. It's not good. It's not good.
Matt, you are back on the clock with the Las Vegas Raiders. Who are they going with their draft pick?
They're taking C.J. Henderson, quarterback, Florida. Secondaries, Moody. They're taking the best prospect off the board.
All right. I will say this, people. I hope that C.J. Henderson is really good at covering, and the fact that he never has to tackle. He is not about the contact, but he is a good point. I will give him that.
He's really good.
Not the best tackler. I will warn Raider fans of that now.
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes as early as 9 to Jacksonville.
C.J. Henderson is no joke. I will say that. He is a very good corner. No slouch at all. I'm back on the clock with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And with this pick, it might be controversial, but if you watched episode 1, you know what I'm thinking about when it comes to them and quarterbacks. I don't think Gardner Minshew is a franchise quarterback. And I think you have to draft a guy that at least has potential to be one. I'm not the biggest Jordan Love fan. If this was Jacksonville's only pick in the first round, no way I'd have them take this pick. But it's their second pick. I'm going to say that the Jacksonville Jaguars take Jordan Love out of Utah State. Will, you're back on the clock with the Philadelphia Eagles. Who are the Eagles taking?
All right. So I have the Eagles at, pick 21 down there. They're taking Kenneth Murray Jr., inside linebacker out of Oklahoma. And what I love about this pick is that this is a dude that swarms to the football. He's recorded over 100 tackles in each of his last 2 seasons. He averages 70 solo tackles a year. And he's, he gets to the passer occasionally when he's on the blitzes. He's got a couple sacks each year the last couple seasons. But he's getting increasingly better in pass coverage.
Okay, good pick. Matt, you are back on the clock with the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings have made some interesting moves this offseason. Traded away Stephon Diggs. Let Linval Joseph walk, but acquired Michael Pierce. What are the Vikings doing?
We're immediately replacing Stephon Diggs with Justin Jefferson, LSU. You get the big body opposite of Adam Thielen, Keith Thielen, a Pro Bowl player. Potentially Jefferson doing the same. Kirk Cousins needs weapons.
I think Justin Jefferson is Stephon Diggs.
Oh, wow.
And that's my
There you go.
I mean, you guys have known, Justin Jefferson has been my guy even before all the Joe Burrow and all the LSU hype going into this year. I love the way he plays. I love the fact that, one of the things that really separates a Justin Jefferson and a CeeDee Lamb to a Jerry Jeudy for me is the fact that if you throw a jump ball to one of these two guys, they're going to go get it. And as far as good as a route runner as Jefferson is too, I think that fit in Minnesota would be absolutely perfect.
All right. Sounds good. Mike, very coincidental that Mike, out of all people, is picking for the New England Patriots. Mike, the Patriots are a completely different team, man. They lost a lot of linebackers. They lost Tom Brady. Mike, who are the Patriots going with the 23rd pick?
Well, at this rate, this will be a future Miami Dolphin with the amount of linebackers the Dolphins are signing to the Patriots. But I'm going Zach Bond. When I look at Zach Bond, the first player that steps on, or that he reminds me of is Kyle Van Noy with the way that New England uses him. I don't think he is strong enough or has enough bend to be the edge player that he was at Wisconsin. The 12.5, 13 sacks that he had this year, that's not going to be who he is in the NFL. But his versatility and his coverage drops and the way that he can turn and run in coverage as well, I think he's the perfect replacement for Kyle Van Noy. And the Patriots, they need linebackers. I mean, that is, outside of corners, the most important position in a New England-style defense is the linebacker. So I think Zach Bond would fit perfectly in there.
Okay. John, the New Orleans Saints, man, they had the best, quote-unquote, best receiver in football last year. Drew Brees, though he's getting old, man. Apparently he was going to retire. Then he thought about it, said he's coming back for one more year, maybe more. Hey, it's a good team, obviously. They've won lots of games in the regular season the past couple of years, just have not been able to get into the Super Bowl. Who are they going to try to draft to get them there?
There's been a lot of talk about them taking a quarterback at this spot, but there's no quarterbacks available, and they've got to be in win-now mode. So I'm giving them T. Higgins, wide receiver from Clemson, gives an extra wide receiver on the outside for Drew Brees, lightens the load of Michael Thomas a little bit. And T. Higgins wins jump balls. Drew Brees can chuck it up to either of his outside receivers, and they can both win.
All right. Matt, the Vikings are back on the clock. They were just on the clock. Who are the Vikings going with the 25th pick?
So Everson Griffin may or may not sign at this point. And even if he does, he's getting up there in age. You got to have a young guy, keep the edge strong. You're going Yair Gross-Matos, Penn State.
Oh, yes, Yair Gross-Matos, Fredericksburg native, Chancellor High School legend, Yair Gross-Matos from Penn State. Good to know. Will, the Lions, they're back on the clock, or they are on the clock. No, they're back on the clock.
They're back, yeah, with that trade down we swindled earlier out of the Dolphins. So at pick 26 we got out of the Dolphins, we are going AJ Epineza, AJ Epineza, I believe it is.
Yeah, I believe it's
You got
Epineza.
it. Yeah, but it's a guy that averaged over 10 sacks over the last 2 seasons in the Big Ten, forces some fumbles at the edge defender's position. Solid pick for the Lions, especially considering they got an extra pick and still got Jeff Okuda.
Okay. Matt, you have a team that just finds a way to be successful, man. Legion of Boom got broken up, didn't miss a beat. They went right back to the playoffs. Still a good football team. Who are the Seattle Seahawks going with the 27th pick?
27, we're taking Trayvon Diggs, cornerback, Alabama. You got to get some help defend the pass. Defense has been awful. Russell Wilson backpacks the team. And, you got to get some help back there.
Okay.
He's a Seattle.
Man.
6'2", can play the ball.
Oh, yeah. Sure. John, we are heading up to Baltimore. Who are the Baltimore Ravens coming fresh off a 14-2 season, but a disappointing end? Who are the Ravens going with at the 28th pick?
Baltimore always seems to find a way to have an elite defensive talent fall to them regardless of where they're drafting. And lo and behold, Patrick Queen falls to them here with their pick. They need to replace C.J. Mosley from last year. It's an SEC linebacker. It's not Alabama like Baltimore always seems to love, but Patrick Queen's an athlete, could fit in well with what Baltimore's going with.
Okay.
How do you guys feel about, hang on real fast, how do you guys feel about the fact that Patrick Queen was not a starter at LSU until midway through this year?
I think that just says how ridiculously talented LSU was this year. That they just had a guy that good sitting in the wings and they had no clue.
Stuff like that doesn't bother me from any position other than quarterback, really.
Yeah.
Because if the quarterback's going to be the leader in the alpha and they can only start for a year or whatever, then I've got a little bit of an issue. But if a player's super talented and for whatever reason just couldn't get on the field, but the talent shines through,
These colleges are super deep, especially Power 5.
Yeah, and dude's an athletic freak, and when he came in, he literally carried that LSU defense besides the 2 corners on the outside.
All right,
Kind of
moving right along.
Kind of Deion Jones.
Yeah. All right, next.
All right, moving right along. We are almost done with the first round. Matt, you're back on the clock. Tennessee Titans, kind of on the contrary to the Ravens, they made it a lot further than what a lot of people expected them to do. Who are they going with the 29th pick in this draft?
Not a lot of holes on that Titans team. They added some guys in free agency. Somewhere they could use some help is interior O-line with Cesar Ruiz, Michigan. He plays center, but he can play anywhere. Ben Jones is getting up there in age. You could replace him one day.
All right.
Guys, before this next pick, we have a slight kind of breaking news announcement. The Cowboys are signing former Packers and Bears safety HaHa Clinton picks.
Oh, wow.
Even Xavier McKinney there. Don't care.
So you still so you're saying that even with that signing, they would still draft Xavier McKinney like they did earlier in this draft?
HaHa plays down the box. Xavier McKinney's a deep safety.
Okay.
Did you say Xavier McKinney's a deep safety?
Flip it. My bad. Flip it.
Hey, son.
It's past midnight. Leave me alone.
I would love to tell you all that Xavier McKinney, I'll say this a different day. Anyway, we're going to move on to the Green Bay Packers. That pick is made by John. You are back on the clock with the Green Bay Packers. The Packers made it to the NFC Conference Championship game, but once again kind of got blown out of there, similar to as they did a few years ago against Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator on the Falcons. Who are they going with this 30th pick?
Well, I'm going to have to go with Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver from Arizona State. A lot like the Saints, you got to add extra weapons for your aging quarterback. Ayuk also gives you value in the turn game. He was a little injured, couldn't participate in the Combine or the Senior Bowl, but really good athlete. Fits in perfectly with Devontae Adams there in Green Bay.
Okay. Now we are moving on to pick number 31. Will, you are on the clock with the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, Super Bowl runner-ups. Already made a pick earlier in the draft. Who are they going with their second pick of the first round?
We already addressed the defense earlier with pick 13, so now we're going offense. We went Laviska Shenault out of Colorado, the receiver. Arguably one of the most elusive receivers in the draft class. I think it's going to be a great fit out there for the 49ers. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be throwing a lot of slant routes to that man in the near future.
Okay. And last but not least, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champions. They're Super Bowl champions, John. What do you have the Chiefs adding on to their team?
I might be a little higher on him than most people, but I've got Marlon Davidson, the defensive lineman out of Auburn.
Okay.
He went to the Senior Bowl, lit it up for 2 days, and his agent was like, all right, you're done. Pulled him off. He can play everywhere on the defensive line. So on pass rush downs, you can plug him next to Chris Jones, have him rush right up the middle. He can play outside as an end contain. Just scheme fit for Kansas City, who the offense is going to be good. The defense could use a little bit more help.
Okay.
Can I say one thing about Marlon Davidson? Why
Yes.
I'm not as high on him?
Yeah.
He's 300 pounds as an edge rusher.
Okay.
He doesn't
That
like
is
his size.
pretty big. Normally, that's going to lead to 300 pound. I mean, 300-pound edge rushers. That's not even normal.
He's athletic.
He's okay.
He's athletic.
I would rather see a Jeff Gladney here, especially with them losing Kendall Fuller to the Redskins.
Could be, but, name of the game is getting pass rush on people.
Yeah.
Good point. All right. And there you have it. That's our mock draft, our 32 teams. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video, man. A lot shorter than the last one, of course. Only around 30 minutes this time. We're done with this mock draft. If you have anything that you have a problem with us picking, maybe we left somebody out, maybe your favorite player, maybe we're sleeping on, let us know. Tell us in the comment section. We appreciate you for watching. And, hey, man, see you next time.